everyone, Monique here, Little Gems Creations 1. Today we are going to be making a watermelon cat toy, and we're going to start that in just a moment. Hi everyone, Monique here, Little Gems Creations 1. Today we are going to be making a watermelon cat toy. You are going to need some hot pink 4-ply medium weight yarn. The exact name for this is, hey, hot pink, woohoo! You're going to need some green 4mm or 4-ply medium weight yarn, and this one is called Patty Green. You're going to need some scrap white and some scrap black, again of the same weight. The crochet hook I'm using today is a 4.5mm. You're going to need scissors and a darning needle. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start by crossing our yarn, and we are going to chain 2. Now, if you prefer to work with a slip knot, you go right ahead. I was never taught to crochet with a slip knot, so that's not what I use. Okay, so now we're going to go into that very first chain, and we're going to wrap our tail around, and we're going to do 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, you go through that same stitch, and you pull through, go through 2 loops, that's a single crochet. So we're at 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to slip stitch into that first stitch. We're going to chain up 1. Now we're going to put 2 single crochets in every stitch around for a total of 12 stitches. So you go into the stitch, pull through, yarn over through 2 loops. Go into that same stitch, pull through, yarn over through 2 loops. I want you to do this all the way around. 2 stitches, 2 single crochets in each stitch around. You do that and meet me back. We've done the 12 stitches. We're going to slip stitch into that first stitch. We will chain up 1. Okay, so if we did our center right, you see how you can see through it? If we did it right, when we pull our tail, that's going to cinch right up. If it doesn't, don't panic. You can sew it up with the tail at the end. Okay, so now we are going to work in multiples of 3. So what I mean by that is you're going to do 2 stitches in the first stitch and 1 on its own. That makes your 3. So you can continue counting. You're going to have a total of 18 stitches at the end of this round. So you can either go 1, 2, 3 like we've done, and then 4 and 5 go together, and 6 is on its own. And since 6 is a multiple of 3, you know that your next stitch you're going to have 2 stitches together. So 7 and 8 go together. 9 is on its own. 10 and 11 go together. 12 is a multiple of 3, so that goes on its own. And you just continue that around until you get to 18. Do that, meet me back. We're at 18. We're going to slip stitch into the next stitch, chain up 1. And now we're going to work in multiples of 4. Now here's another trick that I use so that we know what multiple we're doing. So this first ridge, then we have a second ridge, and then we have a third ridge. So we're starting on our 4th ridge, which means you work in multiples of 4. So you're always doing 2 in that first stitch, 1 and 2, and then 3 is on its own, and 4 is on its own. Okay, now we're going to work 5 and 6 together. 7 is on its own. 8 is on its own. And since 8 is a multiple of 4, we know that it's time to put 2 in the next stitch, and then the next one's on its own, and the next one's on its own. So continue this until you get to 24 stitches, okay? And meet me back. I'm at 24 stitches. I'm going to slip stitch into that first stitch, and I'm going to chain up 1. So now let's count our ridges. We have 1 ridge, 2, 3, 4 ridges or rounds. So now that means we're going to be working in multiples of 5, and we're working on our 5th round. So 2 in that first stitch, 1 and 2. 3 goes on its own, 4 goes on its own, and 5 goes on its own. Repeat this until you have 30 stitches. Meet me back. So I've gotten to the other side. I'm just going to slip stitch into that stitch. I'm going to make my loop big, grab those scissors, cut my yarn, pull my tail through my loop, and pull tight. Okay, so now you're coming out here. We are going to attach our white yarn there. And we're just using scrap. So I hold my tail at the back of my work, pull a loop through, and then I chain 1. So now, just like we were doing multiples before, we're going to continue. So we're going to do multiples of 6, okay? So 2 in the first stitch. The chain 1 doesn't count as anything. So chain 2 single crochets in the first stitch. 3 is on its own, 4 is on its own, 5 is on its own, 6 is on its own, okay? And then we're going to do 7 and 8 together, 9 is on its own, 10 is on its own, 11 is on its own, and 12, which is a multiple of 6, is on its own. Continue this around until you're at 36 stitches, then meet me back. So I've gone all the way around and I have my tail from my pink. I'm just going to throw that in the back and I'm going to slip stitch into that first stitch. Remember that chain 1 doesn't count as anything. Okay, make your loop big. We're going to cut our yarn and we're going to pull our tail through our loop. Okay, so now there's 2 ways you can do this. You can be a good little crocheter, a good little gem, and hide all your threads. Or you can be like me, who's just going to tie these 2 in a knot because they're really close together. And then I'm just going to tuck my threads inside when I sew it up, but we're not there yet. So first thing we need now is our darning needle. So here's my handy dandy darning needle, and I'm going to take a good length of black yarn. We'll say 1.5 feet. We are going to thread the needle. Woo woo! I did that around a camera. Yay me! Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put our watermelon seeds. So I'm going to start down by the center circle. And I am just going to go around with spaces. Now see how I held the tail with my fingers at the back? That's just so I didn't pull all the way through. So I'm going from here to here. Okay, to make a watermelon seed. So then I could come out here and go to the center, but I want a space. So I'm skipping this one here and I'm going through this one. You see where I'm talking about those little holes? Okay, so I go through that hole and then I'm going to go towards the center, but there's still a space. Okay, now I'm gonna go here, but I'm gonna skip this hole. I'm gonna go into that hole. Okay, now I'm gonna skip this hole and go into this hole and towards the center. There we go. Then I'm gonna go into this hole, skip that hole, and go into this hole. There we go. I'm gonna skip this hole and go into this hole. Okay, and then I'm gonna go out the bottom. There we go. So that's the starting. And see, I've got a hot mess back here, but it's not really a big deal because those are just gonna get tucked in anyway. So let's see, where's my working yarn? My working yarn is here. So now I'm gonna go in the center of those 2 stitches, and I'm just gonna start doing seeds around the top. So I'm gonna go into here, and just like we did before, I'm gonna kind of zigzag it. So if I went into the top here, I'm gonna skip that hole and go into the top here. And then I'm gonna go down here. And this really is just guesswork. You know, like your seeds aren't gonna be perfect. So I'm gonna go over here, and then I'll go in the top over here. See what I'm getting at? So I'll skip that one, I'll go into this one, and I'm gonna try and end up between these 2. So if you don't want a hot mess in the back like I have, then by all means hide your threads. I really hate hiding threads. I'm not gonna lie. I just hate it. So then I'm gonna go in here and go up here. And then I'm gonna skip a couple, and I'm gonna try and go between these 2. And then I'm gonna, I went too low on that one. Ah, well, it's just a big seed. This pattern is very forgiving. So now I'm gonna try and go between those 2 seeds and come out the top. And then I'll skip one and I'll go down here, and I'll try to come between those 2 seeds. And then, you know, you just keep going around. They don't have to be perfect. I have never seen a watermelon that was perfect. And you know what? Your cat's just gonna love the fact that you're giving them their catnip. Okay, so that looks good to me. So now I'm just gonna go to the back, and I'm gonna just, I don't know, get to one that I can tie. I kind of sewed them all down, didn't I? Okay, well then maybe I'll sew it down a little more. And I'll just put in a knot. Okay, so I'll go through my loop once, go through it twice, and then pull tight. Okay, and leave a bit of a tail. Cut your yarn. There's what we've got. See, it looks beautiful on this side, and we're just going to close this side up. Okay, so don't lose your darning needle. If you're making this for a cat, you obviously have little creatures who like to try and swallow these things. So put it away right away. and zip it in. This is my to-go bag. I have a tutorial on YouTube that, well, it's not a tutorial. It shows you everything I have in my go bag. Okay, so we'll put that to the side. We're done with the black. Now we're going to go to the green. So, oh my goodness, did you see that? I just had an end. That never happens. So we're going to close our watermelon. And here's what we're going to do. See, at the end here, I have 2 stitches. I'm going to go through one and go through the other, like so. I'm going to catch my green, and I'm going to chain up 2. Okay, so you are going to need a catnip. So I'm going to show you how to make a very simple catnip insert, okay? So you take a piece of material. This is just scrap material. This is 6 inches by 4 inches. You take your catnip. Now this is just catnip that I get at my local pet store. And you are wanting a teaspoon. So all you're going to do is you're going to take a teaspoon worth, oh my goodness, if I can get into the catnip. So I'm going to take a teaspoon of catnip, and it doesn't have to be like heaping or anything. I usually just do a nice level teaspoon. I put it in the center of my material. I put away my catnip because my cats like to get into it because it's their favorite treat. You fold over your piece of material. Okay, so I've got it folded on both sides. Now you're going to just take it, tie it into a knot. Okay, and there you go, guys. Then we're going to tuck that into our watermelon slice. So let's keep going with the crochet part of it. So we did chain 2 in that same 2 stitches. We're going to yarn over, go in, pull through, yarn over, go through all 3 stitches. That is what is called a half double crochet. So now once again we're going to work in multiples of 3. So we did 2. We're just going to do 1 half double crochet, and then in the next one we'll do 2. 1, 2. And then in the next one we will do 1. And we're catching both sides, right? So we're closing the watermelon slice. And in the next one we will do 2. Now I usually wait until I get about halfway before I put in the catnip, okay? So let's just keep going. And then we're going to do 2. 1, 2. Okay, so 2, 1, 2, and then we're going to do 1, and I'm catching both sides, and then we're going to go 2, 1, 2, and then 1. Now this is a pretty good place that we can put our catnip in. Make your loop big and stuff in your catnip tied thing. It's going to be tight, and that's okay. It gives your cat more to play with, right? And then we're just going to tuck it in and keep going. So we finished on one, so we're going to go through both sides, and we're going to do two. 1, 2, and then we're going to do 1, and then we are going to do 2, 1 and 2. We're doing this all the way to the other end. So do that and meet me back. Okay, so there we've gone all the way across. You're going to make your loop big. You're going to cut your thread, pull it through. And there we go, guys. Okay, you're going to then hide your threads, and your watermelon catnip toy is officially done. So this was the first exclusive Patreon tutorial. So I hope you enjoyed it, guys. And I hope that you tell your friends to come and check out this Patreon, because you know what? I have a lot of fun doing it. And I think, you know, that it's good for everyone to be involved. So thanks so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.